Welcome back, punters, to another episode of the Lads Talking Footy podcast. What the F did Fifita do? Brought to you, as always, by our good friends TVC Live, free to download from the App Store. Make predictions and banter with the community in every single game. And it is free to play, free to download, so jump in on it. The link is in our bio. We've got a packed show for you guys. We've got All Blacks defeating England, more issues with the referees, Try July is in full swing, Origin squads have been announced, and we preview round 19. So buckle up. As always, my right-hand punting man, Jordan Tana. Mate, what's good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro. The Warriors got another loss on the weekend, but they put up a valiant effort, man. I was going to put on my Warriors jersey for the show just to pay some respects to their efforts, but I don't want to pick up an injury because it kind of seems like a cursed jersey after watching that last game. So I thought I'd just keep it to normal kit today.
Yeah, it's been some tough going, but I mean, a little bit of light, I guess, to shine on them is the NRL Vegas teams have just been announced. I actually just put a reel up on our socials now, so please ignore my phone if it does start vibrating going off at the moment, but super pumped for it, man. And I said last week if I was going to have some tough conversations with the lady in the other room. Those conversations were had and they weren't so tough. It looks like all going well. I will be traveling to Vegas to go and watch the Warriors next year. I'm super pumped about it. Hopefully we can get the funds in order, but man, it's going to be epic stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm jealous, man. I'm jealous. I'm glad you got the green light from your lady. Who doesn't want to go to Vegas? So I don't blame her. We might need to turn these best bets around if we're going to go in with a full pocket of cash to gamble. But hey, man, I'm jealous, man.
Yeah, the punting has been tough. I'm going to put it down to buy round footy at the moment. But before we get into that, we will talk All Blacks versus England. So the All Blacks defeat England 16-15 on Saturday night. We kick it off with the Razor era. He gets a win. First half, there was a lot to be excited about. The second half did go a little bit stale for me, but I do think that is a credit to England and how they adjusted to what we were doing to them. Before we get into it, though, we've got a question in here from Tane. Do you think the All Blacks are falling off the pace, creativity-wise? New coach, but same sort of structure. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it did look more of the same. I do think there was a good sign in terms of the adaptability, though, because we did look a lot of the same during the first half in terms of our structure and the way we were attacking, flushing a lot of the forwards and then using ice balls off a lot of the forwards as well. But in the second half, we did adjust because England did keep that line speed throughout the whole game, and then it was really starting to put pressure on McKenzie, who was getting some good passes off, but he was under a lot of pressure, and we weren't quite making the inroads that we were in the first 30 minutes, perhaps, because that line speed stayed so consistent from England. So it was a good sign in the fact that we did adapt and started a more kick-heavy approach and just went pod to pod and started playing a bit more territory instead of trying to play from that 40 to 50 range. But in terms of innovation and a different sort of structure from maybe the Foster regime and the Henry and Hansen regimes before it, I didn't see too much different. So in that regard, we might be falling a little off the pace, especially when I see what South Africa has done and bringing in Tony Brown. They've added another layer of attack. They were actually quite threatening on the edges against Ireland in their game on Sunday morning. So when you see stuff like that and you see teams like Ireland who have adopted a different sort of structure in the way they play over the last couple of years, it is somewhat concerning. And the results from 2020 to now does suggest that this All Black dominance and this All Black innovation and this grip hold we've had on rugby and the creativity we bring to it is slowly starting to loosen up, and we're starting to see other teams being at the forefront of that innovation. So, yeah, a little bit concerning after that first game, but it is a first game, so I can't be too harsh.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think you're going to see too much change in the England series. We take on Fiji after this. I think potentially the creativity or maybe Razor's actual effect on this game or on this team moving forward, we might see it a little bit more in the Rugby Championship, taking on those Southern Hemisphere teams, which we're a little bit more accustomed to and know what to expect from them and sort of how their defense might play against us. And it is early days from them as well. This squad has just left, like you said, the Foster regime. It's very hard for him to just stamp that Razor, the imprint, what he wants to bring forward with them, with how much little time that they had. I know he did bring in that extended squad early before Super Rugby started, just to sort of introduce obviously what he's going to be doing going forward. And I really like what he brought to the table in terms of that. But in terms of his footprint on the game itself as well, we didn't really see that. Very, very attacking, orientated first half from them. And then England sort of started to adapt to that, and that's when we sort of started to see that kicking game and that sort of thing come into it. But he doesn't quite have the kettle of fish and the players that I guess he would hope for as of just yet as well. So I don't think so. Yeah, the Razor effect hasn't come into full swing. It's a tick for that first win for them. But I do think it is a little bit of time before we start to see his footprint imprinted on this black jersey. As for the game itself, though, I was a little bit confused in the second half when we did get offered the penalty. I think it was 40 metres out, and we opted to go for a kick rather than that old All Black team. I think would have had that foot on the throat mentality, plugged the corner and had a line out, potentially gone for a drive and just to chase points. Ultimately, it was the right call in terms of going for points, and then we got the penalty, which D-Mac didn't let the clock run over and kicked that one before he let it run over later on. But it was an interesting decision. They were very conservative. Credit to England as well, showed them a lot of respect in that manner. And I was very impressed with England and sort of they took it to us physically, but they also played a brand of footy that was actually quite entertaining as well, which was good to see from them. And I really like the decision of Scott Barrett as the captain early on right now. It just suits this team long term and what they're going to build around. Get that core sort of developing. I thought him and his brother Geordie were absolutely fantastic. But the call for Barrett to be captain as well, I do really like, and I'm excited to see how they go moving forward.
Yeah, he's a real lead from the front captain, because I thought the locks were absolutely outstanding in this game. Patrick Tuipulotu as well was getting through a ton of work and just real dynamic with ball in hand and making little half breaks and always getting over the advantage line and put in big shifts. I don't think the locks were subbed off until into the second half. So they put in big shifts with a high work rate. So I was very impressed with them as well. But yeah, I'm still quite impressed with the win because, like you said, a lot of credit has to go to England because that defense was outstanding. The line speed, like I said, stayed consistent throughout the game and put us under a lot of pressure. So I'm actually going to give us, if I were to give the All Blacks a grade on their performance, I'd actually give it like a B because we did adapt really well in order to get the result. And maybe we didn't do some things that we would have done in the past, especially maybe the Foster regime by like going to the corner and stuff like that. But I think it was a good awareness of what was happening through the game and the contest that they were in. They actually got into a bit of a ding-dong battle in that second half and needed to get some points on the board. So I like this adaptability from the All Blacks. And, yeah, I'm giving it a B. I'm happy. I'm happy that we got a win against this good England team.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the second test plays out, what changes they might make. Obviously, we've got TJ Perenara with the injury. The young Crusader halfback, his name's escaping me at the moment. He's going to come into the squad.
Noah Hofer.
Yeah, just as cover for him. So Finlay's going to get that green light. But it's going to be interesting to see what changes they maybe bring forward. If they make any changes, that is. I thought Fifita was outstanding in that first half. It was one that we were a little bit, I guess, confused about. He's been informed throughout the Super Rugby competition, but international footy is a very different ball game. I thought they might have rolled Barrett out, but it did make sense, obviously, with him only just returning to New Zealand rugby, having only played Premier footy leading up to this as well. So be interesting to see what changes they make. The same for England as well, because, yeah, so it's a good test series, and it's good to see from the Southern Hemisphere as well on a whole. 3 wins from the 4 games from them as well. It was just Argentina going down to France, unfortunately. Now we're going to get into State of Origin, mate. And I've got a little bit of audio to play for you here before we start discussing it. So here is Billy on Fifita.
Unlucky is David Fifita not to be in the side.
Yeah, well, Dave was, a serious consideration. But we feel that the 17 players that have been chosen are the 17 players that have earned the opportunity to be here. All Queenslanders are considered, and Dave's a name that has been in the conversation for all games. Like I said, at the start of the series, he started the season a little bit behind the 8 ball with a pec injury. He didn't have a great pre-season, and he's still working back to the standard that he created for himself last year. And I'm sure he'd be the first one to admit that. And these conversations aren't just throwaway conversations that we have behind closed doors. And yeah, this is the 17 that we feel is the best 17 for Game 3 at Suncorp.
Okay, so shocking audio to begin with there. They couldn't have isolated the footage on him. You hear the train in the background on that going hard. But two things here from Billy. All Queenslanders are considered. That's fantastic from the Queensland coach, selecting the Queensland Origin team that is considering all of the Queenslanders that are available from him. I don't know what it is right now. He's grabbing that Queensland narrative and he's just fucking running with it. Standards though, I am a little bit confused on this. I really thought that David Fifita would have been included in this squad, Game 3, just the form that he's in at the moment and just leaving it all out there. He's obviously gone for the workhorse and Kurt Capewell. He's proven it on the Origin arena, and I'll get to my thoughts a little bit more after you on it. But it is very confusing when you look at the Queensland squad in terms of just Valentine Holmes, if I isolate him in terms of his sort of standards this season as well. We've seen a lot of mistakes from him defensively and just in general, just in club footy. So if you're going to, pick at that or use that as a narrative, you're picking a lot of, you are picking players that aren't informed in this Queensland squad. And it has always been a Queensland thing that no matter how they are going in club footy, they perform at a different level for the jersey, and that doesn't sort of hold the same weight. I mean, we've seen that with Nate Miles in the past with them. Kurt Capewell as well. He's going out and he's putting him in there saying, he might not be playing the best club footy at the moment, but we know he will do a job for us come Origin time. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
There's definitely been something that David Fifita has done, and I think it is around that time where he was going through that contract negotiation. Billy has been in the league since about 2003, whether a player or a coach or somewhere in that department. So he has a lot of friends in this rugby league business. And I think he's been pissed off. His friends have been pissed off with the way that David Fifita has handled that situation. And now to me, it just sounds like he is doubling down, because I'm going to come clean here. I've always hated Billy Slater ever since his playing days and stuff. I think he's just been a real prick. And I could see that being the case off the field as well. And I think he is a very stubborn man. And you can see that with his team list as well. He isn't really willing to make too many changes. And I think he is just doubling down on this David Fifita exclusion and coming up with any sort of excuse he can pick at to make it validated. So, yeah, I think Billy is just really trying to do some damage control and keep David Fifita out of the squad, because, I think David Fifita would have been the right choice to bring in here. And his form has been good. I don't know what Billy's going on about him working himself back into form. He has had a few sketchy weeks the last couple of weeks, but you haven't really needed him when the Titans have been playing as good as they have been. So, I think he's just scrambling, mate, and I love to see it from a New South Wales perspective. He's kind of, had a good take. You called him Billy Fitler, and he's kind of looking like it at the moment.
Yeah, it is. He's caught that Origin bug, eh? They're in there for a couple of years and then they just start to make these wishy-washy decisions and they stick to it and they're not sure if it's the right thing. And he's getting rattled right now, and all he's saying is we're Queenslanders, we've picked Queenslanders, all Queenslanders have been considered. He's just grabbing that narrative and he's running with it. For the selection itself, I've sort of been thinking about it a little bit more. I mean, you brought up a perfect topic with Billy Slater being stubborn throughout his selections this whole series. And I guess when you look at the coach that he's come from Bellyache, who is known to be that stubborn selector. We've seen it in the squad this year. I mean, just around Howarth as well, as a young developing guy coming through. They're screaming out for that left centre position, or whether he's going to end up shifting into that left second row position out there as well. He's been killing it in reserve grade, and he's only just getting his opportunity now. So he's obviously taken the standard things that they hold really highly in the Storm, and he's implementing it in that Queensland environment as well. But then when I started to think about it a little bit more, you've got Kurt Capewell there, he's going to make those little effort plays on defense that are potentially going to matter in this one. We saw Stephen Crichton do a job out there in the last game, running a mark over the hammer as well. But he's just going to make those little effort plays. It might be one or two try-saving tackles, whereas Fifita, you're relying on that attacking prowess that he has. And out on that left edge, you've already got the hammer out there, and you've got young Tommy Dearden, who is not a Cam Munster. And if you're going to introduce Fifita, I feel like he's potentially in a position where he's sitting out there feeling like I need to get him the ball, or I need to get him involved rather than playing a structure. So I think potentially he's just looking for that maybe effort play as opposed for that attacking prowess, especially when you got the likes of Reece Walsh. You now got Kalen Ponga in this side as well. So there is attacking flair out there. That's the only thing I can put it down to, because out of everyone that I've listened to over the last couple of days, everything that I have seen have all said David Fifita, and it's obviously what he's going to hang his hat on. And credit to Billy, if they come out here and Queensland do take this game 3, maybe it was the right decision to bring him out there, but we all know what's going to happen if they do go down. One more question that I will ask you before we move on, and we are going to do a full State of Origin preview come hopefully next Sunday, out for you next Monday. It'll have everything, predictions, best bets, all the stats that you need to know, so get pumped for that. But Bradman Best coming in on that left centre spot for New South Wales. He's been sent for precautionary scans at the moment with Matt Burton coming in its 18th man cover. I did notice that New South Wales didn't name an 18th man on their actual post, so I'm not sure what's going on there. What would you do? Are you going to play potentially a 70-80% Bradman Best and carry Burton as the 18th man, or would you rather a fit, healthy, big bombs Burton come in there and start straight away?
I would personally prefer a Matt Burton to come in straight away because Bradman Best hasn't been a part of the first 2 squads, if I'm not mistaken, because Latrell has come in and because he has been kind of working himself back into health with some of the injuries he's been having. So I know Burton has been in there in the extended squad for at least one of those 2 previous games. So he's been in the system already. So I like Matt Burton just coming straight in, knowing what's going on with the structure and style of New South Wales and what they're wanting to play. And he's played centre before. You keep bringing it up that he's a Dally M Centre of the Year. And the way he's been running and attacking lately in the half position for the Bulldogs, he'll do just a good job out there at centre for New South Wales already. And there is always that dynamic weapon of his boot, of his Burton bomb that can be used maybe if they want to give the back 3 a different look for Queensland. Maybe if there's a bit of a struggle in the middle, they can bring him in and have him chuck up one of those monster spiral bombs just to put them under a little bit of pressure. So I would like Matt Burton coming in as opposed to a not healthy Bradman Best. I'd probably take Bradman Best with the form he has shown before he got hurt. But if he's not going to be 100%, give me Matt Burton.
Yeah, it's the only thing that worries me a little bit if he's not 100% and he's out there, because that leg speed from him, that hammer is just going to go. At least it is being played in the warm Suncorp area, not down in that cold Melbourne where it is potentially more likely to twing. Before we move on though, Mitch Barnett is obviously going to make his State of Origin debut. If you're watching this on YouTube as well, you're going to have a field day. Jordan's phone is just on an absolute swivel at the moment. But Mitch Barnett to make his debut, coming up against Kurt Capewell, obviously. So we've got 2 Warriors players. Now, this is the first time since 2015 that 2 Warriors players will be involved in the same Origin match. That series in 2015 featured both Ryan Hoffman for New South Wales and Jacob Lillyman for Queensland. That were selected to play in all 3 games from that. But nonetheless, super impressive. Great to have 2 Warriors players out there on opposing sides as well. It'll be good content coming from them, no doubt, from there. But just one thing, obviously, Mitch Barnett, mate, what do you think about his selection moving in?
Oh, well-deserved, bro. Well-deserved. Especially after last week's performance. He was fantastic. I might get to that a little later in the performance of the week, but yeah, he has been outstanding. He is the definition of a workhorse, and he's kind of just with his play with the Warriors and his fitness and aggression and stuff to keep pushing for long minutes through the games. We saw it on the weekend with heavy minutes. He was still well in that game and putting his best foot forward to try and get the result for the Warriors. So he is the epitome of what you want from an Origin player, just a workhorse and a big hard-nosed carrier. And he is well deserving of this opportunity. And obviously means a lot for him with some of the things he sacrificed lately to get this opportunity with the New South Wales Blues. So, yeah, man, he bleeds blue. You can tell in his interviews from what he's saying. He wants to rip that jersey and more than deserving of an opportunity.
Yeah, you talk about what he's given up for that jersey as well. I read further into the article that I sent through to our group chat last night, but he missed the birth of his child to join them in Origin camp. He's flown back to be with his wife briefly before then rejoining the team. This is a camp. This is a State of Origin camp that he hasn't wanted to miss. That dude is going to bleed blue. Come next Wednesday, it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be outstanding. He's going to be in for an absolute ripper. I've got one question for you here, mate. Jamin Salmon is facing a 2 to 3 week suspension for dangerous contact on Tamari Martin. The collision obviously came at the end of regulation time. TMM out the back. He sees Jamin coming. He passes the ball, and then Jamin collects him late. It should have been a penalty. He's ultimately ended up with a suspension, and had it been a penalty, it would have put the Warriors up in that match, had they obviously kicked it. This is not just this one game. This is not just salty Warriors supporters sitting here crying over referee decisions. There have been multiple mistakes throughout the season, especially centered around the bunker, in crucial parts throughout the game as well. It was Adam G this time on the weekend, who I think is our top referee at the moment. But what are your overall thoughts? Just put aside the Warriors sort of narrative for the moment on it. What are your thoughts on the actual bunker position and the costly mistakes that we're seeing in games at the moment, almost week in and week out?
To me, it seems like the referees and the bunker are kind of in this purgatory of not knowing who has the ultimate power over decisions on the field. Like, the referees are refereeing this game very, like, obviously people are prone to mistakes, but it's like they're refereeing with the bunker as a crutch, and they're not making decisions straight away, and they're kind of like hinting at captains to challenge it because they're not sure themselves. So it's kind of weird at the moment. The bunker sees so much and can rule on so much that the referees don't know who has the ultimate power in decision making. So I think we just need to clarify who has the power in decision making, so we don't get these problems in crunch time. Because if the TMO can see that sort of thing and pick up on it quick enough to where it doesn't affect play too much, and give the referee a call and make him make that decision on the field, then that is the ultimate, like, best example. Because with all the cameras that we have nowadays in our footage and our coverage, the TMO should really be in the best position to be able to make decisions. It's kind of getting to the point where you almost don't need a referee. Obviously you do, because there's moments with games and you're dealing with live pieces going at each other and live and in person. So you maybe need the referee to be that moderator. But I think the TMO at this point needs to be the overruling decision maker. So, yeah, the referees can make their decisions on the field, but if the TMO picks up on something and sees some foul play like they did here, quick enough and in due time, I think they should be the ultimate decision makers.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting decision that comes over the off season, because it has been such a vocal point every single week in terms of bunker decisions and how it affects games at the moment. It is referees that just rotate on a cycle each week going up into the bunker. I think moving forward, if it becomes its own sole job, where you just have bunker referees and you just have referees out on the field, we might start to get a little bit more consistency throughout, but nonetheless, something needs to change there. Accountability, mate. Let's move into it from the previous round. It is buy-round footy at the moment. We're seeing a lot of red. Hopefully that will change come next week or potentially after the origin periods, but run us through how we went, mate.
Yeah, buy-round, I love origin, but it's having a real effect on our picks and best bets. We were going pretty good before this whole origin series took off, so bear with us. You might want to keep your hand on the red X button for this one. We did go pretty good in the picks, though. 5 from 8 for both of us, and that was with some clashing results as well. So definitely a pass mark there, but the best bets gets a little dusty. A good game, though, to start off the round. Rabbitohs beating the Eels 32-16. I've gone with the Rabbitohs 1-12. I thought it would be a little bit wet in a close game, but it has not come through.
Yeah, and I've bet the Souths 13 plus, but I did have AJ for a double in that one at 8.25, and unfortunately his winger on the other side of the field bags himself a double, so we go down there.
Good tipping with the Rabbitohs 13 plus. He had a lot of stats to back that up as well, so just got a little bit greedy. Titans beat the Sharks 20-16. I thought the Sharks could bounce back, but they're in horrible form at the moment. Sharks minus 8.5 does not come through.
Yeah, and I've taken the Titans plus 8.5, but I've gone for a Mulatalo and AKP at $5, so we go down there on the try scorers.
Yeah, you're getting pretty good with these decisions on who's going to win and by how much, but it's just the try scorers that aren't coming through. A bit of wet weather probably done you in there. Panthers beating the Broncos in another really close affair, 14-6. I've gone Panthers head-to-head, and then I've tried to prey on a low total points line, given that these two were quite good attacking teams, but obviously 14-6, you're never going to get an overs. Goes down there, and it's double stake.
Yeah, and I've made the same mistake taking the overs in this one as well. And thinking overs was try scorers, I had Taruva and To'o at $4.25, and unfortunately we don't go over there.
And then Bulldogs beating the Warriors 13-12. Very unfortunate, but an absolute classic game. One of the best games of the year to watch. We've held hands here, so let's go down together. Warriors 1-12 is missed for me.
Yeah, and it's missed for me as well. And unfortunately, I've made the big mistake in doubling it as well. So we were so close. We were potentially a penalty kick away from double stake win on that one. But nonetheless, we go down.
I think your biggest mistake looking at some of my other results was following me. So there you go. Storm beat the Tigers 40-28. The Tigers plus 12.5 has come through with me, but again, a total points mishap. I've gone total points under 54.5, which I set at a really big extended line. They've still gone over, getting 68 points. So, yeah, unfortunate miss there.
Yeah, and I've taken the Tigers plus 13.5. Will Warbrick to score and Adam Dewey to score, who doesn't go over. That was $8.25. So unfortunately, we go down there.
Yeah, some tough misses. But you'll like this result in this next one, though. Seagulls beating the Cowboys 21-20. A Cowboys head-to-head into total points over 50.5 has not come through with both teams.
Yeah, and I've taken Manly to win in this one, which has come through, but I picked Turbo 2+ at $11. I should have gone Saab on the other side there, who was having a field day.
And the Roosters, again, a dominant win over the Dragons, 42-12. I did say in the preview that I didn't know how this game was going to turn out, but I was backing the Roosters. I've unfortunately picked the wrong margin, going with 1-12, which hasn't come through.
Yeah, and I've taken Zach Lomax, Dom Young, and the Roosters to win at $3.50. Young, Roosters to win comes through, but Lomax, no luck.
And then finally, Knights beating the Raiders 16-12, just to wrap our close misses into a nice little bow. I've got the Knights minus 4.5, missed once again by 0.5 of a point. Yeah, unlucky stuff.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I thought, man, that was a tough beat on the line there. I've taken Ponga, Best, Marju, all anytime try scorers at $9, so we go down. But 40-20, Kalen Ponga, Turbo, anytime try scorer, we miss on that at $4.55. And the lock, which is coming through for me with this method that I'm doing at the moment. Like any good punter, I've thrown that method out of the window come this round. But in this one, I had Roosters, Manly, and the other team in this, I'm forgetting, escapes me from it at the moment.
Panthers, sorry.
Panthers to win at $4.08. So a tasty lock which comes through.
Yeah, and I've hit my repeat set bet as well, but it's a lot less tasty than you because I only had one of your three legs, which was Panthers head-to-head, just because I was struggling with those repeat sets. So it's good to get back in the green there. But my 40-20 obviously missing. Warriors head-to-head, into Cowboys head-to-head, both legs going down.
Yeah, so my total round collect after that one was minus 5.92, which takes our total current unit to a plus 57.37 collect. So it's been a tough couple of weeks with the punting at the moment, but we're looking to turn that around shortly.
Yeah, and I've gone down with a minus 9.44 units lost. So, yeah, nothing really to talk about there.
All right, mate. Now, this is the segment where we normally move into the power play round, but it is July, and what happens in July is Try July. So, in the month of July, Sportsbet are donating $5,000 to 2 charitable causes for every try celebration, and each week we're going to give our favourite celebration from the previous round. Round 18 raised a total of $55,000, and there were a few classics throughout it. For me, though, it was Ruben Cotter digging into the pie for Try July. He flicks the sauce out from his pocket, stuffs his face into the ball like a big pie. Any good front rower who's just crossed the line wants to delve into a big pie. But he could have potentially had something a little bit different, and I did see that afterwards. Ruben Cotter, you naughty boy. He went for that.
If he did that, that would have been classic. That would have probably won try celebration for this week for me. But yeah, I like the pie celebration. He could probably do with eating a few more pies, being a front rower that weighs 95 kilos. So I like that he's getting tucked in. I've gone with Grant Anderson for his kind of niche celebration, going with a guy that plays in the NBA, who I'm a big fan of, Jalen Brunson. he does this weird little celebration when he scores threes where he just like kind of covers his face with kind of like that sort of thing, but over the mouth. And I saw Grant Anderson do that, so I go, oh, he's obviously an NBA fan. And it was a good little try as well off the offload from keep forgetting which King is. It's either Max King or Josh King, but the one that plays for the Storm.
Yeah, it was impressive stuff from them out there. A lot of the Melbourne Storm boys are actually NBA supporters as well. You could see Pappenhausen as well with his celebration getting right into it too. So it'll be cool to see what they do moving forward because it is actually a real special month. I know that Sportsbet are actually going to donate, it might be double for a try throughout State of Origin as well. So keep an eye out for potentially a fin up or something a little bit creative out there. We're going to move into the performances of the round, and I'll start us off here. Game number 307. Probably would have played 400 of them had he not copped so many suspensions, but it was just an absolute classic from JWH. There was blood pouring off of, and just 10 minutes in, he gets sent for 10, suspended again, so he's not going to be pushing out that record too much further, unfortunately. But the exact same intent, the same dog in him, 307 games as opposed to game number 1 for him. Just an absolute incredible career. He's an absolute beast on the field. He brought that same intent with him on the weekend, and you could just see that entire Roosters pack follow him into war. It's super impressive to see, and the big Kiwi man, nothing but respect.
Yeah, he's a heavy hitter, man. He goes into every contact with full intensity, and especially at 35 years old, you're still willing to throw your body in like that and really put it on the line for your team. He's an absolute mongrel, the absolute definition of a mongrel. So shout out to AWH, obviously a Roosters legend now as well, goes down in the history books. So great accomplishment there for him. Unfortunately, yeah, won't get to build on it because, shocker, he's suspended. So good on him though. Another guy of the same cloth of a JWH that plays for the Warriors is Mitch Barnett, and we kind of mentioned him before, so I won't go too in depth with what he was doing, but 83 minutes, 226 run meters, 1 line break assist, 1 try assist, 5 tackle breaks, 5 offloads, and 56 tackles. Absolutely outstanding performance in a game where they really needed him to be like that because they were really struggling in that second half with so many injuries, both wingers, maybe even their fullback as well. Everyone just was going down for the Warriors. So you had people playing all over the show. And he was the consistent rock, absolutely working and still tirelessly trying to keep going for his team to get that result, which unfortunately we did not. But hey, man, it wasn't anything to do with him. He never looked fatigued. He never gave up on the result. And he led from the front, which you like to see. And he's well deserving of his Origin call-up, like we said before. So shout out Mitch Barnett, fantastic performance. And go hard in Origin, win it for the Blues. I love that he's the Blues as well, so I can double support him.
Yeah, hard out. It's good. It is actually good to see. He looks like he's just built for New South Wales as well. That game itself, I was very tempted to take performance of the round, just the Bulldogs as whole. What they're building out there is just absolutely phenomenal. It's almost like you talk about the Melbourne culture, you talk about the Penrith culture, and it kind of looks like the Bulldogs are building their own like culture out there as well. You could see it in the crowd, the fan base, just the respect out there, all the young players coming through look like they just want to be Bulldogs, and they just got that energy about them at the moment. And I actually had a look back over our preseason clips as well, and I'd said in the preview, whoever finished for the last 3 years, the team that finished in 15th spot the previous year, which was the Bulldogs, normally finishes within the top 4. So it's going to be a crazy run home for them. It was the Cowboys, the Warriors, and I think it was maybe the Sharks a year before that, but the Bulldogs sitting in that 15th spot, moving into potentially a top 4 spot, and currently sitting in 15th, whether or not it finishes at the end of the season, is the Titans. So it might be interesting to see what they do next year. But we'll get into it come our, review of the season if it does come to fruition. Now what we're going to do, we'll move into the round 19 preview. It's only a few games this week, so all of these odds are accurate as of Tuesday at 6 p.m. Now, the Dolphins take on the Rabbitohs at KO Stadium. So, Wayne Bennett coaching against Wayne Bennett. The Dolphins are $1.56 favourites. The Rabbitohs are $2.40 for underdogs. And the line is sitting at 4.5. For the Dolphins, no hammer. Fuller comes in like always. JMK is out, though, with a foot injury. So, Max Plath moves into hooker, which is quite interesting. TPJ starts at prop for Kafusi. And for the Rabbitohs, Jai Gray returns. Fuller Mitchell is out for, I believe, up to 4 weeks with his foot injury. He's elected not to go with surgery at the moment, which is a massive shame. Cheekham comes in, though, for Cam Murray as well. Now, the Rabbitohs remain unbeaten, obviously, since appointing Wayne Bennett as head coach, but he's going to be coaching against them in this one, so he knows the moves that he's been doing. The Dolphins have a 60% win rate at KO Stadium, and this is the first game for the Rabbitohs here. I'm going to actually tip the Dolphins in this one. I think Latrell being out is just a massive loss for them. Murray in the middle as well. I know there's a few changes for the Dolphins there, but it is at home. I really like the X factor that Trey Fuller brings at the back there, and I just think they're going to unravel them a little bit here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm going to go with the Dolphins as well. A couple of factors. It's clear conditions. It's meant to be on Thursday night, so that'll play into the Dolphins' attack because although they have won only once in the last 5 games, they have scored in 20 and they've scored at least 20 in 7 of their last 8 games. So the attack still looks pretty good. It's just the defense that is a little sketchy for them. And I do like them coming back to KO Stadium because it does feel like there is a good Dolphins present. It's a little bit more intimate of a stadium than Suncorp. The stands don't get quite as packed for Dolphins Suncorp home games. So I do like it coming back here. It is a spiritual home for them. The Rabbitohs attack has been good too, and obviously 5 wins in a row is nothing to sneeze at. But I look at the highlights before I come onto the show just to give me a little reminder of what happened for the weekend. And all the Rabbitohs highlights over that last 5 weeks, 50% of the tries and scoring opportunities, Latrell has been involved in. So they will miss him dearly in this game. I am going to back the Dolphins to get it done. I'm going to go with Dolphins head-to-head into total points over 46.5 at $2.25, which, I mean, I got burned by the total points last week, but we're going to try again this week and hopefully come through.
Nice. Now, what I'm going to do, hopefully moving forward, if I get the time each week, is I'm going to list off a whole heap of stats for you guys. I know you all love stats, and that's what you build a lot of your multis around, and we've got a lot of stats here. We can just piss them out. So my best bet for this game, the Dolphins have lost the last 3 games as the favourite. Their last 3 games have gone under the total match points line, and they have also they have also scored the first try in each of their last 6 matches. Souths have also covered the line in their last 6 games. But for me, I'm going to go AJ to score and Asako. I'm going to rely on that right edge or that left edge defensive lapses for the Rabbitohs. Hopefully going to come to fruition in this one, and that will give you $3.40. Now, the Sharks take on the Tigers at PointsBet Stadium. The Sharks are $1.46 favourites in this one. The Tigers are $2.71 underdogs with the line sitting at 6.5. Before we get into the teams and the predictions, Nico Hines has obviously gone down at training the other day with a bad ankle injury. Scans have revealed today that he has a Linsic fracture, a syndesmosis rupture, and has also broken his leg. I'm not sure in terms of the timeline and for him to come back to play. I'm guessing it'll be potentially 6 weeks minimum with the broken bone, but I'm not sure how that goes with the rupture as well. Tough footy for the Sharks. I was actually looking at them the odds for them to potentially drop outside of the 8, given their current track record at the moment. But now with no Hines, what's your take on the injury?
Yeah, the injury is a tough loss for the Sharks because although he hasn't been playing well, he is still probably the most integral attacking piece that the Sharks have. And he does get them a lot of points when he is firing on all cylinders. In terms of maybe the combination of him and Trindle, I actually think they're kind of going through a Raiders thing where one or the other is going to be beneficial. So I think you might even see it look slightly better with just Trindle at the helm with Hines going out. I'm not saying Trindle's better. I'm just saying that the attack might look a little bit less confusing than having both of them mixing in together. So the Sharks could still sneak into the 8. I think they're going to be worse, though, and their form is just suggesting that they might not be that good of a team to begin with. But I do think they are still a live threat to make this 8, given that, it's just a little bit better of a combination, Trindle and a guy like Atkinson who just plays his role and attacks hard and runs hard. So it's not completely written off for the Sharks.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% on your take in terms of the clunkiness that you see with the Sharks at the moment between Trindle and Hines. You see it a lot on the short side raids, especially over the weekend. Trindle was sort of popping up at that first receiver and there was no shape outside of him. It looked a little bit messy, and it looked like both players needed to have their hands on the ball as that first player option, like we're sort of seeing with the Warriors at the moment in terms of the SJ Tamade kind of fit. Nonetheless, though, obviously no Nico, so Trindle's going to move into the number 7 spot and Atkinson to 6. Kotoa returns to the lineup. Wilton starts in the back row for the suspended Talakai as well. For the Tigers, it's another change on the rotating wing position. Lob comes in and Fa'atape shifts into the centre spot for Olam, who is out due to injury. Both teams have a 50% win rate at the venue. The Sharks come into this having won 1 of their last 5 games. The Tigers having won 2 of their last 5 games. The Sharks have won their last 4 games against the Tigers at the venue. They have won 4 of their last 6 games, but the Tigers did beat them in their most recent matchup. If it was at Leichhardt, I'd definitely be tipping the Tigers here. But I think just because the Sharks are at home, they're going to sneak by, and I do like Tricky Trindle at 7.
Yeah, I have no idea where to go in this game because, like I said, the attack could look a little bit better, but then they've just been playing they haven't been playing super bad, but they haven't put a consistent 80-minute performance in, and they've usually started really poorly, and they've just been on the back end of some very disappointing results, and I keep picking them every week as well, so they're personally hurting me as well as a tipper. So I don't know about the Sharks, man. The Tigers, on the other hand, their attackers look much better lately. Scoring some higher points than we would usually see from them at the start of the season. So having Galvin back and Caesar back, and maybe Benji starting to really put his effect on this attack, is starting to show its fruits. So, yeah, I agree. I'm really confused as to where to go with this game. I'm going to do the old tip one team, but best bet the other team. I'm going to tip the Sharks, but I'm going to play Tigers plus 6.5 at $1.91.
Yeah, I don't hate it. The Tigers have lost 15 of their last 16 away matches. The Sharks have lost the first half in each of their last 7 games. The last 3 games for the Sharks have been decided by 4 points or less, so I like the line that you've taken there. Sione Katoa, though, has scored 7 tries in his last 4 games against the Tigers. I'm going to take Sione Katoa and the Sharks to win, and that will give me just $2.30. Now, I'm looking for a little bit more of a sure thing. I would need to start building that kitty up again. The Titans, they take on the Eels at Cbus Super Stadium. The Titans are $1.53 favourites in this one. The Eels, $2.51 underdogs, and the line sits at 4.5. Jaden Campbell, he will return at 5'8 for the Titans. AJ has been listed as the 18th man. For the Eels, though, Dejan Arce takes over at halfback for Mitch Moses, and Lorenzo Mulatalo will make his debut on the wing for Blaze as he shifts to centre. Not sure if he's the younger brother of Ronaldo Mulatalo. In their last 4 games, though, the Titans have won 2 and lost 2. The Eels have gone winless, though, over their last 4. 44% win rates here for both teams at the venue. The Eels have won 8 of their last 9 games, though, against the Titans. And at Cbus, they've won their last 4 games in a row against them. And 3 of those have been by 13-plus margin. They have finally also announced a head coach for them next year. Maybe that helps them with a little bit more certainty moving forward. So I'm going to take the Eels to bounce back and get the win here.
Ooh, damn, that's not where I thought you were going to go. I'm actually going to go the other way because I think Des Hasler has done an outstanding job turning this team around. After such a terrible start, losing, I think, the first 7 games, they've really turned it around and got some good wins over the Sharks, Broncos, then obviously that 60-point destruction over the Warriors, which we're not going to get into. It still hurts my heart. So, yeah, the Titans have looked good, man. They're dealing with injuries, but they've still got a host of the stars that have been killing it for them over this sort of resurgence. So that's really good signs. And then they also get the returning Jaden Campbell back, who was outstanding in that Warriors game where they won by 60. So I said I wasn't going to talk about it. Here I am. Eels are dealing with even more injuries, unfortunately. And they have been floundering even with Moses, and they've looked absolutely disgusting with him out. So I'm going to back the latter here. Clear conditions give me confidence in the Titans as well to run up a good score. I'm actually going to go Titans 13+, and I'm even going to double stake it.
Ooh, I like it. He's all in. Now, the underdog has covered the line in each of the Titans' last 12 games. This guy also loves scoring tries. He scored in his last 2 games against the Eels. AKP has scored 5 tries. I'm going to go AKP for 1 try and the Eels plus 4.5 at $3.40. Now the Broncos, they take on the Dragons at Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos are $1.46 favourites. The Dragons are $2.74 underdogs, and the line sits at 6.5. For the Broncos, Saylor comes in, Smoothie comes in. Staggs is also back. Rogers takes over from Madden, who has suffered a hamstring injury, and Jordan Ricky also returns from suspension. For the Dragons, Ravalawa, he returns to the wing spot for Zach Lomax, and Makasichi, I think I've pronounced that correctly, takes over from Ben Hunt. And Faitala Mariner also returns for the Dragons, who I do think is a big impact for them in that pack. Now, the Broncos have lost their last 5 games in a row, and the Dragons have actually won 3 of their last 5 games. Against each other, the Dragons have won 6 of their last 8 games against the Broncos, and at Suncorp, they have won 3 of their last 5 games against them. Give me the Dragons for an upset here. Kick the Broncos while they're down.
I think the guy replacing Ben Hunt is Marsh, but I bet you he'll appreciate you putting a little bit of Uso flair on the name. So shout out to the Usos and the Dragons. I'm going to also pick the Dragons because I think they're a good underdog here. You look at the Broncos, they've been in putrid form with 5 losses in a row, and they are one of the more affected teams by this whole origin situation. So I do think that they're going to struggle here, especially when you look at the last time the baby Broncos played, as you'd call these. They got whooped by the Warriors at home. Not whooped, but comfortably beaten. The result wasn't really in too much doubt. So I do like the Dragons to get up. They do also lose some big guns to Origin, but they've shown in previous bye rounds that they can take out these big dogs in a fortress home like Suncorp, like they did to the Panthers and in Penrith on another bye round, 22-10. And then also they beat the Dolphins 26-6. That was at their home though. So they're good in these bye rounds. Their players still step up. And you got to put that down to Shane Flanagan as well and his ability and what he's been able to do with this team and turning them around. So I do like the Dragons here. The only thing that does worry me, though, that it is meant to be clear conditions. It's good conditions all around all weekend and all the locations. But the Broncos are a very dangerous attacking team. So I do think they are live here to get it done. But I am going to take the Dragons at a slightly lessened line to get it up to $2 at +5.5.
Yeah, nice. 3 of the last 5 games against the Broncos at Suncorp. Give me the Dragons at a +6.5. I'm going to go Dean Mariner and both Sloan to score any time, and that will give you $7.75. For the Origin camps, though, it'll be a little bit of an interesting one. They're obviously in Suncorp at the moment. You got Payne Haas and Lomax on one side, and you got Ben Hunt and the Broncos boys on the other side of that as well. So there'll be a bit of banter inside camp. Last one, Manly take on the Knights at 4 Pines Park. Manly are $1.40 favourites. The Knights are $2.98 underdogs, and the line sits at 7.5. Manly, this is super confusing. Turbo has been moved to fullback with Kohler out for 4 to 6 weeks. I believe Tommy Talau was shifted to centre and Lehigh Hopewade to the wing. Humphreys is the new halfback in for DCE. I'm not sure why you wouldn't just leave Turbo in at that left centre spot. Put Hopewade back to fullback where he's been killing it and been playing really well lately. I feel like he's just going to be targeted on the wing the whole time. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe shift Greg Marju out there onto him as well. For the Knights, Ponga, Best and Gagai obviously out. Sharp comes into fullback and Lucas and Thomas Kant are the new centres. The Knights have won 4 of their last 7 games against Manly. 1 draw in that mix. At 4 Pines Park, they've actually split their last 4, winning 2 each. We saw what happened to Manly on the last bye round. Very, very ugly. But Newcastle also are missing a lot of guns in this one, especially in the centre positions. Manly have a 61% win rate here though, and the Knights have actually only won 4 of their last 15 games at the venue, and that's why I'm going to rely on. I'm going to take Manly just to grind out a win here.
Yeah, I completely agree. 4 Pines, always been a fortress for Manly, tough place to win. Both teams are really struggling with injuries, like you said, and guys out in Origin, but it's actually the Knights outside backs that gives me the most cause for concern, just considering how the Seagulls like to play and threaten edges. I think they're going to be really vulnerable having Dylan Lucas and the other centre, I can't remember the name, but there's not a lot of experience out there on those edges, and the Seagulls will keep coming at them all day, especially in clear conditions like it's meant to be. So I do like the Seagulls to capitalize on some of those moments and get some big breakout plays that does get them a result. We have seen from the Knights when they are down a few star players and some breakout players that they can go back to that real grind-heavy approach. And they do have a really strong forward pack for this game. And they have been able to grind out games by just playing through the power of those forwards. But I'm still going to back the Seagulls to get it done. It goes against my dad's mantra of forwards win the game and backs determined by how much. But I think styles make fights, which is a good UFC term. And I think this style really benefits the Seagulls here. So I'm actually going to go the Seagulls. Even though I've said they'll break out and thread in the edges. I'm actually going to go Seagulls 1-12. I think it'll just be key moments that will break the game for them. So I'm going Seagulls 1-12 at $3.40.
I like it. Yeah, so Manly have won 6 of their last 7 games at Four Pines Park. Manly have scored the first try in their last 6 games against Newcastle. The Knights have covered the line, though, in their last 5 matches as the underdog. Marju, he has scored 4 tries in his last 2 games against the Bird Gang, and the last time that they played against the Knights at home, Hamole Olakwadu also scored a try. I'm going to go Hamole Olakwadu into Greg Marju, and I'm going to double that one at $4.75. That concludes all of the preview. Obviously, the Raiders, the Bulldogs, Storm, Cowboys, Penrith, Roosters, and the Warriors all have the bye. And we're going to move into the repeat sets and the 40-20 bets. So for me, with my repeat set bet, nothing seems like a lock in this round. So I'm just going to go with 2 try scorers that have the stats to back them up with. And I'm going to go AKP and Greg Marju, both to score a try at any time. And that will be $2.53.
Very nice. And I'm liking the Titans lately. So I'm going to have them as my repeat set bet. And I'm going to have them at a slightly extended... I'm just going to take them at the line, sorry. Titans minus 5.5 at $1.82.
Nice. And my 40-20 bet, I'm just taking lines on this one, and I'm taking underdog lines here. I'm going the Eels plus 7.5, the Dragons plus 6.5, and I'm going to take the Bunnies plus 4.5, just in case that's an upset win there, and that will give you $6.64.
Hey, man, on buy round, I don't mind the logic. There's a lot of shenanigans go on in buy round, so I don't hate it. I'm going with the Dragons head-to-head into one of your favorite try scorers, Cam Pereira, anytime try scorer, $4.26, just gets over the line, but in buy round, I don't want to go too greedy just to make sure I get a bet going.
Nice, I like it. And like I said last show, give us a follow on Dabble if you're an Australian punter off over here, because we've got the stats up to back everything. We got a couple of follows on some jam last week, so let's get it moving on there. Nonetheless, that concludes another show. We'll see you all next week as we preview State of Origin.